Good evening. Welcome. I lost my first bet because I did not anticipate such a large crowd. But thank you for coming out tonight. Shepherd High School, in partnership with Mid-Michigan Community College, is offering a pretty cool opportunity, not only for the students, but also for the families. You guys are going to hear a lot about what early college is, and one of the ways that we're looking to present it and offer it here. Early college, there are, a lot of high schools in close proximity to us that are offering a similar program, but how we're looking to offer it is similar to what we're already doing, because we offer some dual enrollment classes on campus here right now with our own teachers and professors that come in. What you're going to hear about is the minor little difference about that fifth year, which we will, look to explain in great detail. And then at the end, after, I speak briefly, I'm going to have my colleague up here, Brent Mishler from Mid-Michigan Community College, come up, talk a little bit about the college aspect of it. And then at the end, we're going to ask that we hold all the questions till the end. We'll offer a Q&A, and we'll do our best to answer all the questions to the best of our ability. And if we don't have an answer, we will seek it out and get to you as soon as we can. But again, welcome. Here, we're introducing Shepherd High School, but now we're going to be part of the SEC, not the Southeast Conference, but we're going to be also Shepherd Early College. We're actually creating a logo. We're not getting rid of Shepherd High School, but we're also going to recognize the uniqueness of students joining the Shepherd Early College. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Brent Mishler from Mid, who's going to talk a little bit about the program, but this goes back roughly about 13 years. Bill and Melinda Gates came up with this concept of pushing and trying to get more opportunities for first-time college goers, students that may not be able to afford college, and or families that are struggling. I wish back in the day that this opportunity was open for someone like me to help save a little bit of cash. So we will try to explain to the best of our ability. But again, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Brent Mishler from Mid-Michigan Community College.
Okay, I think I got this mic. Jason, can you hear me okay up there? All right, perfect. So welcome everybody. My name is Brent Mishler and I'm the Associate Director of Admissions at Mid-Michigan Community College. And what I'm here today to talk about is a few very high overarching things about what an early college actually is, how do you go about it, and how do you complete one? And those are kind of some of the tenets that we're going to talk about. And I want to start off by saying that an early college program is not for every student. You're not under any requirements to sign up. You're not under any requirements to join. And there will be a timeline that I'll show at the end that you can continue forward within the process all the way right up until the time that you actually have to sign the commitment form, and you can walk away and decide that it's not for you, if that's what you so choose. I want to make sure that everyone understands that you're under no obligation to be here today. I'm not here selling anything, and if you want to continue to learn more, that's great. If you wanted to hear information and you ultimately decide that it is not for you, that is equally fine as well. So without further ado, I will go ahead and kind of kick off about what an early college actually is. And an early college program is where a high school student essentially completes their high school diploma and an associate's degree in 5 years. And how is it that they do that? Well, for one thing, they have to go to school for 5 years. And I know that if you're a student in the audience, I probably just lost you right there, because nobody wants to go to school for 5 years. I don't either. And I don't blame you at all. There are ways around that requirement that we will talk about in much more detail as we go. But essentially, it is not as bad as you think. For an early college, you graduate at the end of that fifth year with a high school diploma and an associate's degree at the same time. It's not a one or the other. It's not an A then a B. Both of those degrees are awarded at the same time. And how do we do that? So early colleges have been around for, like Mr. Paslock was saying, about 15 years, and there are about 70 of them in existence throughout the state. And what it is really trying to get a blending of high school and college content at the same time. And how do you do that? Well, you take your classes under the guidance of advising professionals from MID, the guidance and counseling staff here at Shepherd, all work in a tandem to create a schedule that will allow you to get the type of degree that you want and in a way that you can get it. So let's just fast forward to some of the big questions. Essentially, what will happen is at the end of your sophomore year, you will decide if an early college is something that you want to pursue. And I know we have a lot of freshmen in here right now. That's outstanding to begin thinking about that. For the group of here that's sophomores, this is a decision that will come to you within the next month or so. So at the end of your sophomore year, you decide if you want to be in the early college. And what will happen is your junior year and your senior year, your high school classes will be scheduled in a block, either in the morning or the afternoon, for whatever schedule best fits yourself and best fits the master's schedule of Shepherd High School. What that does is that allows you to free up an entire half of the day, either again in the morning or the afternoon, to take college classes that go towards the degree that you are interested in pursuing. And that's another thing that I want to talk about, different types of degrees. This program allows individual student selection for what type of ultimate associate's degree that they want to do. If you think that you want to go on to a four-year institution, CMU, SVSU, Grand Valley, Ferris, any number of things, probably one of our transfer degrees is a better option to essentially get your 2 years out of the way. If you're thinking that you want a 2-year degree in an associate's field and then immediately enter the workforce, that is something you can do as well. It is entirely a student-led and student-driven decision. There are other models in the state where the high school picks the degree that you want for you. That is not the case here. So if Shepherd ends up with 20 different students in the early college, they could be doing 20 different programs. That is totally fine, and it is all individual upon the student. So your third year, your junior year, and your senior year, you go to school here for half the day, then you take college classes for half the day. And I better keep hitting this so I don't get too far ahead of myself, because I'm explaining this on the next slide. When you take your college classes, you can take them in any format that we offer them. Mr. Paslakwa talked about the number of sections that we offer concurrent enrollment right here, where we offer mid-classes at Shepherd. You can take those. You can take them on our Mount Pleasant campus. You can take them on our Harrison campus. You can take them online. Any manner that we deliver the course, you are eligible to take them. That's kind of how your junior year and senior year would go. Now you're thinking, if you're a traditional student, this is the time I graduate. This is the time I walk across the stage. This will be the traditional time I enter my first year of college. That all would be applicable if you were not in an early college. For early college students, what happens that fifth year is what the difference is, and that's kind of what freaks everyone out probably in this audience, particularly if you're a teenager right now, is that fifth year of high school. What happens that fifth year is you are required to take one required class for high school graduation. What that class is and how it is delivered is still being worked upon, but we're all familiar that you have a certain number of required classes that you have to take in order to graduate high school. One of those classes will be held back to take that fifth year. I'm talking one, not 10, not 8, one class. Other than that one class, you are a full-time college student attending college and finishing up your degree requirements. I do not want to speak for the administration here at Shepherd, but I think it would be an accurate statement to say that the school recognizes that those fifth-year students probably don't want to be in the building a whole lot. And there are different ways and different options that the school can work with the student to make sure that that happens. I should give you a little bit of background with our history. Mid-Michigan Community College offers dual enrollment classes to approximately 1,000 high school students each year. That's about 25% of our total enrollment. As part of that, we offer early college programs with Beaverton High School, Gladwin High School, Clare High School, Farwell High School, and Shepherd High School for this year, and Beale City will be launching in fall of 2016. So this is something we have a lot of practice at. This is something that we have a lot of experience in navigating all of these types of questions that will come up, and how do you structure things and how do you make it work. And I say that to say because of all of those different schools that we work with and all of the different early college programs around the state, I have yet to see one school still do that fifth-year requirement the same exact way. So what happens in Clare will not happen in Shepherd, and what happens in Gladwin will not happen in Beaverton, and what happens across the state is totally a local individual decision that the high school will establish. But essentially, again, to recap, that fifth year, what you do is you take one high school class that's required for graduation, and then for everything else, you are, all intents and purposes, a full-time college student, just like you would be as if you were had graduated after your fourth year. You guys can see the notes up there. If you have any questions, we'll get to those after I wrap up, but I just kind of want to get some of these overarching, what are some of the benefits for an early college? Well, first and foremost is it's going to put you a year ahead of all of your peers. So that means you're going to enter the workforce a year earlier. That means you're going to have another year of earning power, all of that sort of stuff that a teenager might not care about, but parents in here, you definitely care about. Even more to that is number two, have an associate's degree paid for. Shepherd Schools will pay for the total cost of this program. That means you right now off the bat, you are looking at about a $6,000 plus savings on your tuition. You will walk across that graduation when you get that associate's degree debt-free. Right now, the average, national average for college debt for a bachelor's degree is somewhere in the neighborhood of $26,000 to $28,000. Knocking your first 2 years off of that bachelor degree is a great start. I know people are going to want to know, how does the school pay for that? Or how do they plan on paying for that? All of this is derived from, to try to keep the educational jargon simple, every student gets X amount of dollars for being here at school. A portion of those funds will go to pay for those college classes, just like dual enrollment is already happening. In many cases, it's the same exact way. In a way that I can explain this that makes sense is the state of Michigan right now. How many of you are currently dualing or are planning on dualing in the future? Raise your hands for students. Okay, great. State of Michigan says that you can take 10 dual enrolled classes your high school career. If we do the simple math here, 10 times a regular basic 3-credit class means that the high school is obligated to spend or pay for up to 30 credits. Now there's a little bit of fine tuning in there where they might not pay 100% of the cost, but it's pretty close, and for the example, it will work. So the state of Michigan says right now, over your regular traditional 4 years of high school, they need to pay for 30 credits. What happens is that fifth year, because you have not completed your high school requirements, you have not officially graduated high school, the school gets the money for a student coming back for their fifth year, and you take an additional 30 credits, just as if you were a full-time college student that fifth year, and that's where your 30 other credits comes in. To get, I should say, for an associate's degree at Mid, it's anywhere between 60 and 62 credits for a full degree. So the rough numbers of math for the instance works pretty good. Is that really this is just like an enhanced dual enrollment model. So you could take the traditional dual enrollment cycle. After 4 years, you'd be able to graduate with 30 credits. You'd have your first year paid for, and you could go off to college. Or you could elect to stay for that fifth year and take another year of college classes that the school is going to pay for, and then you'll graduate with your associate's degree. Like we talked about earlier, students have the support from advising staff and local high school staff to help craft that schedule and build in the support systems in order to make sure that the students are successful. So what does it mean to be an early college student? Okay, first and foremost, for those of you who dual right now, you already know the jargon, but I'll let everyone else know you are college students. In every sense of the word, that means you fail a class, that goes on your transcript. You get an A on that class, that goes on your transcript, okay? So everything that you do for your college classes acts as a typical college student, no problems there at all. You also need to commit to finishing an associate's degree or 60 transferable credits. That is one of the stipulations that the state of Michigan puts on for being in a fifth year program. So if you are thinking that this is something that you want to try, but you're not really 100% into it, I would highly caution you to think about it because really dropping out is not an option. Once you sign and once you commit to doing that 60 credits in 5 years, you are locked in. That is how ultimately the high school is judged for graduation rate, is you might make it through your high school diploma and be just fine, but if you didn't finish that associate's degree or get those 60 credits, the school would not be able to count you as an on-time completer. And I know that that's a big issue for the school district. So much so that when an early college application was submitted to the state, there is specific criteria that students need to meet in order to be eligible. And we'll go through that later on, and that's all in the paperwork that you guys will get at the end. But essentially what it means to be an early college student is you are committing to finish, which is a very big commitment that we understand, which is why I go back to the beginning saying that this probably isn't for everybody. But if this is something that you want to do and this is something that you're serious about, you've taken dual enrollment in the past or are planning on doing it again, for the certain type of student, this is a tremendous benefit and a great deal. So why are we excited about it? Well, first and foremost, it helps prepare you for the college life. A great picture here is our Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society, which is essentially the college version of National Honor Society. Our PTK organization is one of the country's strongest and has received the highest rankings for a community college for 7 straight years. They routinely have more students in PTK at Mid than they do at any of our larger institutions like Grand Rapids Community College, Oakland Community College, and Macomb. In addition to that, student groups and organizations all have an opportunity to participate in. Remember, going back to the part where I said that you're part of, you are a college student, that means you get all of the services that we provide to any traditional student. Anything from our tutoring to our supplemental instruction to our clubs and organizations on campus you are eligible for. The big question that's going to come up, and I'm surprised that it hasn't already, and this picture just kind of kicks it off, is athletics. Okay, so one of the fine prints as it relates to early colleges is kind of athletic eligibility. So the easiest way to explain that is you play for the Shepherd Blue Jays for your 4 years of high school. That 5th year, you are ineligible to play for Shepherd because you have used up your 8 semesters of MHSAA eligibility, and you are not yet eligible to play at the intercollegiate level because you have not obtained that high school diploma. Remember, the school will be holding that high school diploma back until that 5th year. So if you are a Division I, a Division II, or a Division III athlete, this is probably not the best program for you. If you are somebody who likes playing sports but aren't necessarily committed to it and are not definitely looking for or expecting a college scholarship, this is still equally viable. But I want to get that out of the way first and foremost, as I know we have a lot of athletes here. I played 3 sports in high school. I understand where that comes from, and I just want you guys to be aware of it. There is that gap that 5th year. You aren't eligible for high school athletics because you've exhausted your MHSAA eligibility, and you are not yet eligible to play college sports. You would be after you achieve that associate's degree and move on. So if you're going to transfer to a 4-year institution, you would be able to participate there. So you'll still have your 4 years of regular MHSAA athletic eligibility, but you won't be able to participate that 5th year. And then just a couple of other highlights, all of our college life that we offer. I talked about PTK, student groups, athletics. The one thing I didn't mention about our athletic teams is we have men's and women's basketball, which you are all probably familiar with. And I should mention that we were the regional champs this year for the 2nd year in a row for men's basketball and the first time for women's basketball. We offer highly competitive teams. In addition to that, we are launching 4 new sports for fall of 15. Men's and women's cross country and men's and women's bowling. What that will do is that will allow us to be a full-fledged member of the Michigan Community College Athletic Association. There's a long acronym for you. But it essentially allows us to have a conference, compete for conference titles, and postseason eligibility. So we're very excited about launching our 4 new athletic programs and expect that to continue to grow in the future. The other thing, hopefully you all have had time to, as you're driving around in Mount Pleasant, check out our new building that opened in the fall of 14. It's 101,000 square feet, Center for Liberal Arts and Business, which is connected to our Doane Center. Now we have one centralized campus on Mount Pleasant. It also houses the Maury Technical Center, where our technical offerings are launched. So having everything consolidated in one place, which I've went on the speed limit very quickly from Mount Pleasant to Shepherd to drop off stuff a time or two, and I think I make it in about 7 to 8 minutes-ish. If there's any police officers in here, that may be a little bit longer. So it's not a real long drive. You guys can get to our campus easy, and hopefully you know where we're at. Last step that I want to talk about is what do we do next before we get into the questions, because I know that's going to be a lot of why everyone is here today. So questions are, let's assume that you are interested in hearing more. As of right now, that's all you're signing on for. That's all you want to do is I want to hear more. Like I said, you can jump out at any level of this timeline until we get to that June 5th date. So what we are going to do is we're going to move through our application process for an early college. And that means that by the beginning of next week, must be Monday the 18th, I don't have a calendar in front of me, you need to have your paperwork submitted. And Mr. Paslacqua has the paperwork over there. You're going to grab that on your way out or when we're asking and answering questions on an individual basis. There are two different forms. One is our standard MMCC dual enrollment app. If you've already applied and are taking dual enrollment or are ready to roll, don't worry about that one. We already have you. That's essentially to get you on the system on our end. The other thing is the Shepherd Early College application, which is more in depth and includes more of that criteria that I talked about as far as helping to determine whether a student is ready to enroll. That application will be due back, both of those applications, if you need to fill them both out, are due back to your guidance office by May 18th. What we're going to do that week is take the list of students who are interested and administer our placement tests. So AccuPlacer is our placement for math and English classes. It is an online test. They take roughly 45 minutes to an hour to administer, and we'll do those right here in the school. That's something that we've offered for quite some time here for dual enrollment, and with our dual sections that we do right here already, is we will get a computer lab, we'll have the students sit down, and you'll do your assessments right in school. It doesn't take much, and that will help give a baseline for where you're at academically and what English and math courses you will place into. What happens after that is we'll take all of that information, our Mid-Michigan Community College advisors will sit down with guidance counselors from Shepherd, we'll sit down with the student, and we'll sit down with the parent. And this meeting will occur at Shepherd, and we'll say, all right, tell me what it is you want to do, what is it that you want to go into, and then we're going to make a plan for you that's going to map out exactly what courses you need to take for those 3 years. Your junior year, your senior year, and your fifth year. We're going to map that out right for you so you know what is exactly expected of you. How many classes you're taking each semester, what classes you're taking, how do those fit in with your high school schedule. It works best to have everyone all in one group right at once so everyone is hearing the same story. So we can line up the high school schedule with the college schedule so the students and the parents both know what's expected of them. Provided all of that continues to work and nobody has any problems, June 5th is the deadline to commit. One of the last things you're going to do before you leave for summer break is you are going to sign on that dotted line if you're interested and say, this is it, I'm for sure in, this is something that I want to do, this is how I want to jumpstart my career in my life. And then once you do that, pretty much everything kind of ramps itself up and you are a college student ready to go for fall of your junior year. We have some models available where we can kind of take a look at, how many classes you would be taking each semester. I think it starts as your junior year, you take 2 college courses each semester, and then you kind of ramp up to 3 your senior year, and then by your 5th year, you are taking a full load, just like if you were a regular full-time student. Again, with the caveat that you have that one high school class that is still required for graduation. So that is it in a nutshell. That is kind of the overarching goal of what an early college is. How does it apply to you? What's in it for you? How does it work at Shepherd? I know I was extremely vague, and I did that on purpose because I know that the questions that you have are going to be more particular, and we would be happy to answer those right now. If anyone has any questions, I know we're recording this, so we're going to go ahead and if somebody has a question, we're going to repeat it into one of our mics so they can pick it up on the audio. Okay, so for anyone who is not here, they're able to listen along and get kind of some of those answers, because I know that's really one of the most important things why you're here. Mr. Paslock was going to answer any questions as they relate to high school, and I would answer any questions as they relate to college. Before we do that, though, Joe, could you maybe talk a little bit about graduation? Scholarships. Those are some of the things that I think probably everyone has questions about, and maybe it's best to just address those right off the bat, and then we can get into some more questions after that.
Sure. Well, 3 seconds. There we go. Before I get into the graduation and all the things that Brent is mentioning in scholarships, in this packet, folks, when you take it home tonight, when you bring it back by next Monday, you're only committing to the application portion. The drop dead date to be enrolled and fully commit, and folks, we are begging you, we're giving you plenty of time to go through, look at each bullet, look at what the commitment stands for, so that when the parent and student fully commit, we're gonna have that commitment statement signed, the essay, short essay from the student, you know, because one of it explains, well, why should you get this free tuition? You know, hopefully there's a little bit of motivation just saying, save my parents some money. Yeah, that should be one of the priorities, but what's in it for you? What's your true motivation to become an early college student? Okay? Now, Brent mentioned scholarships. One of the questions that are gonna come up, well, wait, can I still apply for scholarships if I'm going through this whole early college program? Yes, you can. Now, it's unique and it's a little bit different because you're not gonna be considered a transfer student, because you have not completed graduation as a high school student. When you apply for, scholarships in the fall of that 5th year, as you start applying to the colleges and start applying for scholarships, they're gonna recognize you as a first-time student, even though you're already in a college program. You know, we've made contact with Central, we made contact with Saginaw Valley, Ferris. We're trying to get all our ducks in a row with local colleges that, in each one that we have contacted, said the same thing. Yes, we will recognize these students coming in as a first-time student, because realistically, you're still under the high school realm, even though we're allowing you to take all those college classes. So, you know, maybe put some of you guys at ease that, yeah, not only are you saving money on your tuition, but also you're gonna be recognized as a first-time student going into college, and you're gonna be eligible potentially for some of those scholarships as long as you meet all the criteria that the college puts forth. All right, so hopefully that helps explain that one. The second thing that we are exploring is the graduation, because we know, wait, we got a lot of local scholarships. I wanna make sure I preface some of that. We are gonna be looking to have you guys, you know, still, you have not graduated high school, so even some of the local scholarships, we're gonna ask that you put those off, you know, and then you compete when you go to graduate with that high school diploma and associate's degree. Graduation. We know some of you guys are in here maybe even a year in advance as a freshman, thinking maybe I'll get excited about this, and you think, wait a minute, all my friends are gonna graduate in 3 years and I'm stuck, I'm gonna graduate with the 8th graders? Ooh. Yeah, I know some of you guys are thinking that, like, really? Well, one of the things we've agreed to look at and pursue is allowing the students to walk with their cohort, meaning after the 4th year. But folks, you will not see a diploma in there, you will not see the degree in there. That's only allowing you to walk with your cohort and your cohort only. But again, you're gonna be on strict criteria, you know, progressing through the program, you know, to allow that, because we understand the bond of, you know, you being with your friends and you wanna walk and, you know, throw the cap in the air. Oh, we don't allow that here, do we? Just kidding. So we understand that connection, that you wanna be with your friends, you know, you wanna celebrate. You know, and they might be thinking, well, yeah, we get to celebrate because we actually have our diploma, you don't. But yeah, within a year, folks, don't let that bother you, because you're gonna have the diploma and an associate's degree, and you're gonna have money in your wallet. because we're going to be able to save you, well, more of your parents. We feel a nice, and you saw some of the numbers, significant chunk of change. Okay, so we know that those were going to be a few of the big, top hitters in terms of questions coming our way. So any more that are coming, I'm going to try to duck and weave and do what we can to answer them to the best of our ability. But I think at this time, those were the big ones that we wanted to make sure. Brent, did I miss anything?
No.
Okay.
No.
Now, what we will do, folks, and like Brent mentioned, there are many different avenues and directions that are going to be tailored to the individual student. So we will do our best to give an answer specific to your situation. But that may take, a time for a sit down with myself, Ms. Cahoon, Ms. Gauthier, and Mr. Ross, to really try to help through that process. I think I saw a hand back over here. Yes, young lady.
Considering that the students will be going to school for 5 years and they'll graduate, of course, with a college degree or associate's degree, and when these children are graduating from that 5 years and you're putting on their resume at 5 years, that can be misleading to future employers. What have you documented? What do you have?
Well, that's a great question. She asked, if we're going out, trying to, put in applications for employers, some of them are going to be like, well, you're still not a high school graduate? We have to do, and since we're in such the infancy, we've got to make sure we educate not only students, families, we got to educate our community on what the difference is, because, I look back, I didn't graduate college in 4 straight years, working full time. And a lot of people are like, oh, 5 years, yeah, working full time, but I think people are going to understand that once they become educated. Right now, that's the biggest thing, because we were just talking about that about an hour ago. Man, people are going to go apply, and they might look at you and say, wait a minute, you didn't graduate yet? Mrs. Bunker, superintendent.
It's also becoming more and more popular. I think there's 57 early colleges in Michigan, so employers are getting into that. It's becoming more accepted as one of the norms now that high schools have.
The other thing that I look at is that's a great opportunity for you as a prospective employee to explain your story. And for you to say, look at this, I am high achieving, I'm highly dedicated, I'm motivated, I have that grit, that grit to, to rigor up and to get through school and to complete my associate's degree in 5 years, and I want to tell you more about that. And there's ways that you can do that on your resume and on your cover letter. So if I'm reading it as an employer, I say, well, I want to hear more about what he has to say or what she has to say. And then we go to that interview and we say, let me tell you what I did. And let me tell you why you should hire me. I think that's a great kickoff to really explain more about yourself as an individual.
And they hit it nail on the head. I mean, we are going to do our best to even get the kid in their portfolio, start accumulating all types of success stories about them to help sell themselves. But we've got to make sure we're marketing not only the school end, we got to do our part to try to educate the community as well. Ms. G?
I used to be a business teacher, and I did resumes and prepared students and seniors for just this, as you're talking about resumes and preparing them for the workforce. And my dual enrollment students, I always had them include that on their resume and on their job application. And my daughter is a sophomore, and she's the one who actually asked that question tonight, because she's applying for jobs. And I didn't have an answer for her until just now. And I thought, when we did her resume, we did include her dual enrollment classes for this year. And that's exactly what I would have you guys do if you did the early college. I would not only put on there that you're a Shepherd High School student, but I would put on there that you are an early college student as well and attending med. That's what I would do.
Follow up? Go ahead.
I don't have a problem with putting on their resumes, but I know that when she was applying for a job she's previously had for the tribe, that all their stuff is electronic employee. They want a GPA in there, they want the high school diploma in there, and so it's problematic in putting in there that she's dual enrolled.
I would just separate them.
And we're going to learn with you, to be honest, because we're in our infancy as well, and we're going to stumble through potentially some of these hurdles, right along with you. But, what we have to do is put the hurdle back up and keep running. So, again, like I said, we may not have all the answers for you tonight, but we're gonna work our butts off to figure it out for you. Sorry about that. Don't put that on the camera, please. Question in the back.
So you said they would still be eligible for scholarships, as if they had just graduated and were not a college student already.
Correct.
So will they still be taking the ACTs, having their grade point? Because I know that that's a lot of the scholarships are based on class rank, ACT scores. So will that all be?
That part will not change, except you said the ACT, the state switched over, now the current sophomores, next year's juniors will be taking the SAT. And just so you guys are aware, this is not part of the program, but we have already signed up to have our juniors take the PSAT in the fall. That way they get at least one trial run of what the SAT will look like next spring for those juniors. But none of that will change in terms of their high school components, their GPA, that portion towards class ranking. Okay, good. I think I saw a hand here, and then
You said that the ones for colleges locally would basically graduate from high school. What about colleges out of state? Would it be the same thing?
so the question was, if you're, obtaining credits, will they, allow you to then transfer, but also for the scholarships, being recognized as a first-time student? When looking at a state, I'll be perfectly honest, I do not have that answer right now. And Brent, with any of the other colleges, do you know the answer?
Yeah, I'd recommend that you maybe have some contact with that school, especially if you know what it is. Our contacts are pretty good in-state, especially locally, and we kind of have those conversations and can feel those things out. If you have a specific place outside of the state, or even like a trade program or something like that, that is something that I would recommend you check with that individual institution with ahead of time.
And even if they wouldn't take this first year, they may have transfer scholarships as well. Schools have some pretty healthy transfer scholarships as well as first year. So again, I agree with Rob, wherever you decide you might want to go, you might want to check into that first.
Right. I mean, this is going to open your eyes, and probably even as you approach and go through and near the end of it, you're going to start realizing some of the questions that you may not even be thinking about right now, and start to inquire and start calling around, working with our staff here, the college. I mean, just because we get you enrolled doesn't mean, all right, hands off, we're done. We're going to try to learn through the process with you, because we're going to have, we hope, this first cohort is going to break ground for us and then make it a smoother transition for the younger groups coming through. But great question. Over here. I don't know who was first, but.
To go off of her question, when it comes to the class rankings, if we have students who are in the running to be valedictorian and salutatorian, but they're not graduating with their class, that poses a whole different set of problems.
That's the two exceptions. If you're going to be valedictorian or salutatorian, those two students, sometimes three, I would recommend not enrolling in the early college, because there are some pretty hefty scholarships for valedictorian and salutatorian. So those would be out of 110 kids, those would probably be the two I'd say don't.
Because some of the colleges will grant you full ride, tuition, room, board. So it is a decision that, it's not the perfect scenario for everyone.
Well, because, like, we have freshmen right now, and so
Right.
we don't know where their class rankings are gonna be, but by the end of next year, that's still a question for us. I mean, we know we have smart kids, but how do we know they're gonna be in the running for valedictorian or salutatorian by the end of the sophomore year? We've still got 2 more years of high school to go.
Well, one of the things we're hoping to have taken care of is in the spring of next year that those sophomores will be at least taking the PSAT. Again, that's no indicator, but choices. We can't make those choices for each individual student. That's why we're kind of opening up, and each case will be unique. So some decisions will need to be made. Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
If you've already taken the academic service year, will you take it again? Just because that's the university.
Nope, if you've already taken it, your score is still good.
If you want to retake it,
If you want to retake it, you can.
Yes, sir.
If you do this, can you still do vote?
So if you still do the early college, can you still do VOTEC? You're going to have to be very creative to make that work, because it's going to be kind of difficult with all the other classes. But not to say no, we would just have to be somewhat creative, with our scheduling. Because
In that case, the students that have VOTEC may have to go a little bit longer than the 50 for an associate's, because it might be harder to take the 30 credits before the end of your 12th grade and the 30, but you might be able to take 20 and then 30, and then you got 10 more credits to take. So there's a lot of options, just work with your counselors and work outside what it was best for you.
good question. Back over here. Well, they're both a little bit different. The MTA is basically the Michigan Transfer Agreement, which if you tried to go early college and then realized something happened, you couldn't make it, but still earned 30 credits, and fulfilled all the requirements of the MTA, those credits will be transferable to all the universities in the state of Michigan. But you've got to meet each criteria for the MTA, which is a little bit different than, for the early college, the associate's degree. So definitely great question. Start looking at it, be purposeful in your planning, have a good sit down with Ms. Cahoon to help lay all that out. Great question. She's put some thought into this. That's excellent. I think I see a hand here.
If you don't want to go with this program, does Shepherd still offer college classes you can take?
We will still be offering our dual enrollment.
So
This is just going to be an enhanced, in addition, if you want to accelerate and try to get that associate's degree taken care of. We're still going to offer, certain classes here like we are currently. That's not going to change. This is just going to then allow the kids to maximize, take all those, take some other online, or even go into the Mount Pleasant, Harrison, or online, and then that 5th year, taking all college level classes.
So a sophomore, junior, senior, how many classes through just dual enrollment can they get in the 3 years if they don't go with this program?
State law says they could take 10. And 10 would roughly get you that 30 credits. And that is that MTA block that the lady was talking about. I'm really excited to hear you guys say MTA. In all of these presentations I've ever been to, I've never once heard somebody say MTA. So you guys are doing something extremely great here. Great job in there. For those of you who don't know, the MTA is a new agreement between all of the public institutions in the state of Michigan and several of the private ones. MTA stands for Michigan Transfer Agreement, and it's a block of 10 classes that all would be primarily your freshman year of classes. They're the same freshmen that you take at CMU, SVSU, Michigan State, Ferris, Grand Valley. Any of them are all pretty much the same. Those classes, if you get those all in a block, are transferable to any institution that signed on. And like I said, all of the public institutions in the state have signed on. So essentially, it is your first year of college. And that's what Shepherd is pushing right now, is that those students who are in a regular dual enrollment program right now complete as many or the entire MTA as they can. That would be that sophomore, junior, senior level year of classes. To take it to the next step would be to do your second year of college classes, which would then ultimately garner you an associate's degree. They all ladder on top of one another. And that's really exciting to me, is Shepherd really has some built-in advantages that a lot of other districts don't by offering so many of their classes here right on their campus that they can take without needing to drive, and by instilling that at an early age to say you want to get MTA classes, you want to get the block so you can block transfer it to anyway. That is your biggest bang for your buck as a parent.
Over here.
I was wondering if a student chooses to try to do high school classes during the summer, to up their credit, or else can they take some of the mid during the summer so they can get more credits done before they graduate, or is that not possible?
We can't pay for that. Ours are only during the school year, but if a student wants to, then they can take classes.
Yeah, the question was, could an individual student allow to or elect to take classes during the summer? Easy for me to say. The answer is yes, absolutely you can. You got to pay for it. And if that's something that you want to pursue to kind of free up your high school schedule during the day to get in that VOTEC, or to give yourself some more flexibility, that's an option that is there for you.
May not have been the answer you wanted, but
Oh, no, I know high school classes. I know that you guys do offer some during the summer.
we do. Those are mostly for credit recovery for students that have fallen behind. We give them a chance to try to get credits made up. But again, a great question that we have to explore and consider. But as of right now, it's not an option that we have put in place. But again, we have a little bit of time since we're just starting to enroll sophomores. But I will look into that question for you.
The reason I really primarily thought of that is because it is my understanding that they're looking at making school year-round and having specific dates off, and I don't know how far we are looking at that here from Michigan, but I know statewide, or, United States-wide, they're looking at that.
That doesn't change the credit structure, it'd be the same amount of credits in the balance calendar as it is now with the trimester training. So that would not change.
And we were even exploring if they were to change before the Labor Day concept. Certain schools allow it because colleges start before Labor Day. So that is going to be an issue too, that if you're enrolling in a college class in the fall and that college class starts before Labor Day, you're a college student. You are required to be there. And
Same goes for spring breaks.
Sorry.
Sorry, that's another big thing to think of. A college spring break and a high school spring break are generally on different weeks. When you're taking your load of college classes, you'll still have assignments to do that week. You'll still have stuff that you need to do ahead of time, so that's something to consider.
But classes taught at Shepherd High School follow our
Yep.
schedule for start date and spring break.
Yep.
Classes at mid follow mid schedule.
Yep, thank you.
And one of the things that does come up, if a student is having an issue in a college level class, they may come to us, but I don't have jurisdiction over the college. So we got to play by the college's rules. If they have certain criteria and requirements that attendance is mandatory, and you're one that, every year goes spring break down south or wherever, and you miss college classes over that week, folks, we can't do anything for you on that. So those are just other little things that I hope aren't a deterrent, from the potential of, getting into this program. Okay, another question over here.
Are all associate's degrees at MID available through this program? Are there certain ones that are not eligible? And if we're not looking for an associate's degree, but looking to transfer to another college for bachelor degree, how does that work?
Sure.
with
Yep.
that year?
Yep. All degrees are available. I will say a caveat, our nursing program requires more than 62 credits, so it probably would be extremely difficult unless you picked up some stuff during the summer to complete that specific degree on time. But all the rest of our degrees are either 60 or 62 credits and would fit in that 5-year. How does that work if you are not necessarily looking for an associate's degree, but a 4-year bachelor degree? Is we would definitely recommend that you pursue one of our transfer programs. We have all different types of transfer degrees that are associate's degrees in math and science transfer, health transfer, liberal arts transfer, and those essentially get your block first 2 years out of the way, so they allow you to transfer right in to another institution and start taking junior year classes. That's one of the bread and butter things that a community college does, is try to line up those degree programs to maximize the transferability to the 4 years. And I know that we have a great partner here in CMU that we run all of our programs by, and I can say with confidence that when we look to see if a degree transfers, the number one place we're checking to see if it transfers is CMU. We want to make sure that piping and that ladder, whatever you want to call it, is as strong as it can be, because we know that the majority of our students who are coming to mid, who are ultimately transferring, are going to Central.
Good. Thank you. Are there any? Oh, we do have a hand up back here.
What if the student fails a class towards that degree?
Yep.
What's that? What do you do?
Yeah, if a student fails the class, first and foremost, they are required to reimburse the district. That is no different than what they have to do now. So that's the same policy that's in place if you're just taking a regular Psych 101 class as a dual enrolled. What that also is going to do is that's going to put you behind in your pacing. And that's where you're going to have to probably take some summer classes to get caught back up on pace. There's some things that we can do from a scheduling standpoint to try to ease students into the college experience, for lack of a better term, and to kind of take a wider view. We don't want to jump right out the gate taking stats as sophomores, but to ladder our classes in a way that makes sense to maximize success. The other thing I should mention is that our dual enrolled students at mid are extremely high achieving students. They hold a GPA that is over 1/2 a point higher than our standard population. So yes, it does come up. It doesn't come up very often, and when it does, we have a way to remedy that. But that does require an investment on the parents or students once that happens.
The success rate, you know, from high school students, speaking from my other school and even looking at the data here, is usually very strong. You know, the kids that commit to it, and that's why when we have students take a look at this packet, please take time going through the checklist, and then when you read that and sign that commitment, there are things that you would run into if you fall behind and fail. You know, we're willing to cover the cost as long as everything is going smooth and you're successful. When you hit the roadblocks and the speed bumps, that's when things get a little bit more difficult, and that's why, you know, the same premise is, if you fail, you are responsible to cover the cost, unfortunately. Question? Yes, sir.
Does this affect students' financial
It does and it doesn't is the easy answer to say it. First and foremost, a student isn't eligible for federal financial aid until they received a high school diploma. So that is not going to impact you on the amount that you can borrow. That clock doesn't tick until you actually get that high school degree. What it does impact is satisfactory academic progress. So if you've had kids who are in college right now, they have to pass a certain percentage of their classes in order to maintain their eligibility for financial aid. Like we talked about at the beginning, once a student starts taking college classes, all of those go onto their transcript. So if you had a scenario where a student was not being very successful in the program, that could impact their ability to make that satisfactory academic progress. By and large, though, no, it doesn't, but it does as far as making sure you're passing classes.
Okay. Oh, one more hand. Over here.
State funding for this kind of program.
Superintendent, do you want to answer that question?
Call your legislature and talk about, finances for schools like that. We always worry about financial stability. But we committed to it, we've been doing dual enrollment, we've increased that the last few years, so.
So for every child that signs a commitment, you are guaranteeing that they can complete this?
I can't say that we're guaranteeing, but I'm pretty sure that they should be able to. And even if they didn't, which I think that's very unlikely, and I'm 95% sure that we would be able to do that. Whatever college classes they took could still count towards the college classes. So if they took one, they could only, class closer to a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree, but I am very positive that we will be able to all this year. Like I said, there's 57 in the state right now. So it's not like we are really trying something brand new. It's pretty new. We're the first one in Gratiot Isabella County to do this. But I'm confident and our board is in full support of this, so, and I'd like to say 100%, but nothing in the school committee.
That's why I looked to the boss for the answer on that one.
Thanks.
Hey, if I say it up here and then I'm stuck. No, I'm just kidding. Was there a hand here? Yeah.
Well, I did notice, that all the tuition's covered by in this program,
Yes, sir.
and then it said some of the textbooks are covered. Are we talking
Yeah, here's how I'll explain that. For right now, what MID is doing on our end of things is for classes that are taken at Shepherd High School, MID is paying for those books. We will distribute those books to the students and we'll own those. That's coming forward for fall. If you're looking at me and saying I'm a liar, I am right now. For fall, that is a new thing. For the classes that are taught here at Shepherd, we will cover the cost for books for those.
And then Shepherd Schools will cover the cost for the other books that they're taking. So currently,
Is that just for this program or the dual enrollment?
that's for any new enrollment class beginning this fall.
That's hot off the presses too, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
President
Yeah, some of those decisions were just made and finalized today, so we knew, like, we got to stand in front of folks that are be asking these questions. Hopefully, we get some answers. Yes, I see him.
College classes you take affect your GPA class?
Ms. Cahoon, do college classes affect GPA and class ranking? Because they have an option.
They can, when you decide
It's okay.
When you decide to take a dual enrollment course, before you take the course, you can either count it for college credit only. So on your high school transcript, it will just say COL and it will not hurt you and it won't help you. Or you can choose to count it as high school and college. In that case, yes, it can.
And I will say that with an early college model, you are going to take several classes that you will need to take for high school and college credit at the same time, so you can get through all of the high school requirements and all of the program-specific requirements. So you are going to have the vast majority of your classes will count for high school and college credit, the very definition of dual enrollment.
Okay. Oh, we got one more. This young lady's full of questions tonight.
That's because I'm a very determined student.
That's awesome.
We were looking at the graphic design for the associate's degree for college. Now, I understand with dual enrollment, are you offering all those classes, or are there specific classes for dual enrollment, and then other classes for, like, those that are going on for 5 years?
Everything will ladder on top of itself. So if you're talking about what classes specifically here, is that your question?
Well, yeah, because I'm wondering whether they're going to be online, or if they're going to be here in the school. I mean, there's a broad variety of
Sure.
degrees that are out.
Yep. And the best answer will be that will come when the parent and the student meet with the academic advisor and the guidance counselor, and they'll be able to take a look at what specific degree requirement they want, what classes are required, and then, okay, does this make sense to do in the third year in the morning or the third year in the afternoon based upon schedule availability and kind of all of those different factors. I wish I had a great answer for you. I know little to nothing about academic advising, and I let the experts handle that side of things. But primarily the classes that are offered here at Shepherd are those basic classes that fit that MTA that you are going to need to take for almost all, if not all, of your programs. And then what you get is that fifth year, when you're taking all of your college classes, that's when you really specialize in graphic arts or biology or any number of other programs. That's where you would get that separatization and that specialization. And that's why it works for a high school, is because they can offer those classes here at the school, and they might have one graphics arts and one liberal arts transfer and one business person all taking those MTA classes, and it gives them enough to run a section. But then when you get to that fifth year and everyone specializes, that's probably when you're going online or to our Mount Pleasant campus to take those very specific classes to round out your program of study.
And that's why each student, their map is going to be different from student to student. But, okay, another question here, and then we're going to be wrapping it up.
You have a head start. You have a great head start, and I advise you to run with that head start. Other schools where I do this presentation have never taken dual enrollment classes before. So anyone sitting in the audience who has 1, 2, 3 classes already complete, you are 1, 2, 3 classes ahead of anyone who is not. That allows you a lot more flexibility as you move forward. Heaven forbid if you were to fail a class, that would free up you have that flexibility. I don't expect that you would fail a class, so what that allows you to do is then complete quicker or complete in a not as compressed timeline. So maybe that fifth year, instead of taking 15 credits each semester, maybe you're only taking 12. Or maybe you're taking 12 the first one and then 9 the other one, and then you're ready to go. So it gives you a lot of options, and I really congratulate you for that. Yeah.
Someone in that unique situation, definitely set up an appointment, speak with Mrs. Cahoon, Mr. Ross. Okay. Before I take this last question, just as we're getting ready and we'll continue to answer questions, some of you guys may realize on your way out, if the folks from 9 and 10 News ask you to pull you aside and want to ask you a few questions, you're not obligated, but we do have the news here, because this is a pretty hot program, not just at Shepherd, but throughout the state. So they called us and said, well, yeah, sure, come on in to our information night. We'll do the best we can to answer your questions. So just in case you're caught off guard, 9 and 10 is here. Yes, yes. We are not cutting any of our high school classes.
Do you participate those in your 5th year?
That's something we have to look at, because what we are holding off, you know, is going to be something that we're going to make for everyone. That one requirement that we hold off to that 5th year. Band, oh boy, that's a good question.
If there's room, there's no reason why you couldn't, especially if, like the young lady said, if you're taking classes your sophomore year, you probably have room there.
I don't know if the choir teacher would let you back in, though. It's his dad, just so you guys know. But great question, great question. But athletics, for sure, no, unfortunately. Any last minute questions? Over here on your way out, Ms. Cahoon, Ms. G, myself will be handing out the packets, the applications. We beg of you guys to take a look at it. Come see us. If there are any, you know, questions in the hallway, you know, during lunch, seek us out. Again, we don't have every answer because every student's track is so unique, but we'll do our best to answer it. We want to thank you from, you know, not only Shepherd High School, but Mid-Michigan Community College. I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. You definitely beat the number that I thought were going to show up tonight. So thank you. Hopefully we get a lot of you to commit to this program. Have a great evening. Travel safe.
I'm not positive that's 9 and 10. You sure it's on TV5? Well, they might.